We find ourselves with the game I wasn't planning on covering as part of this series we're working on, but here we are as I find myself pleasantly surprised by Rogue. Not because it's great by any means, but because it's just fine. The story doesn't offer much in the way of originality, regardless of what anyone tells you. The Templars might be shown as the good guys here, but there was always a grayness to the morality in the better stories told by this series, and they didn't exactly put any effort into making the assassins compelling villains. That being said, this was just one of the few games I've played in the series that just worked when I launched it, with a refreshingly solid 60 FPS that never dipped during my playthrough. The world didn't engage with me in the same way Black Flags did, yet I enjoyed it the entire time, loving the new toys I got to play with and some of the neat new stuff they added. Anyways, if this is the first video in this series you found, I'm reviewing each Assassin's Creed game in the lead up to Mirage to see if we can figure out what made this such a good series in the first place, how they ruined it, and how Mirage may be able to fix it. There will be no restraint on spoilers here, so if you're ready to hop in with me, let's go talk about Assassin's Creed Rogue.
Could be anywhere in the world by now. It may take years to find it.
It may take your lifetime. Are you up for the challenge? Good.
The gameplay found in Rogue is absolutely what makes it worth talking about because frankly, it's fantastic. Taking the formula we got in Black Flag, adopting it to a different character, and then expanding on it. Almost everything Edward did can be found here, and even with Shay preferring a sword and dagger combo over full dual swords, you'll see plenty of reuse animations, which is absolutely good game design in my book. There's a couple differences though. Edward was a pirate first, and his equipment was largely designed for open combat clearing the deck of a ship during a boarding. Shay was an assassin first, and the new tools he requires will fit well into the more city-based and stealth-centric gameplay we see here in Rogue. While it's true that Shay can cut a bloody swath through a group of troops, his maximum of 2 pistols will limit his crowd-clearing ability, but he makes up for it with his own solution. Early in the game, we get the air rifle, essentially the blowpipe firing sleep and berserk darts, but we also get a new addition in the firecrackers we can fire to distract enemies. Think cherry bombs from Revelations. A little bit later, we get the attachment for the air rifle that will allow him to fire grenades, allowing us to affect large groups with sleeping gas to create a very large gap quietly, or hit them with berserk darts to create a gap through chaos. Or just blow them up, because why not? If they're not alive, they can't see you. These are awesome additions to the toolkit on land, but what about the sea? The Morgian is smaller than the Jackdaw, meaning less firepower, but we move faster, allowing us to outmaneuver larger ships, which makes for very interesting ship-to-ship combat. She has some of the same tools, broadside cannons that fire regular shot or heavy shot, bow cannons that fire explosive ammos instead of chain shot but with the same effect, and a ram that's good in combat and also allows you to cut through the ice that's so prevalent in this area of the world. Then we start to differ a little bit more as we get liquid fire out the back instead of fire barrels, which is so much better, and something I actually used. In place of traditional swivel guns, we get the automatic puckle guns, which are the bane of gunboats and way overpowered during boardings. It's overall a familiar but fresh experience coming off of Black Flag, and I couldn't have asked for anything better to come out of it. All these changes are great, they really are, but there's a single gameplay change that they made that alone makes this game worth playing, and that's Stalkers. You are a Templar after all, so of course they would send assassins after you, and it's incredibly fun. Stalkers will hide the same ways you would, in the brush, inside a hay bale or a closet, maybe even above you. You know there's one nearby when you can hear the whispers. Before having played this game, I would have told you that anything that makes me stop and place during an Assassin's Creed game would be a bad idea, but I would have been wrong. The moment you know one's around, the game of cat and mouse has begun. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but using the repurposed multiplayer indicator to track them down is great fun and means you can't be careless. Getting caught off guard can be deadly, and even in a fair fight, if you're too slow, you can end up eating a ton of damage before watching them beat feet. They are probably my favorite addition to any AC game, and I wish they would have made a return, and at least if they have, I don't remember them. The gameplay here is absolutely what keeps the game going, but while the story has its problems that would cause me to label it as poor at best from a writing perspective, it was still enjoyable. So let's get into it.
You are now a Templar, harbinger of a new world. May the Father of Understanding guide us.
May the Father of Understanding guide us.
Rogue will take place mostly in between Black Flag and AC3, although also after AC3, but only for a little bit. Pre-Revolution, mostly the 7 Years' War that you won't really take part in for the most part. Did I clear that up? Did I make that simple, easy, and digestible for you guys to understand? I think I did. Anyway, we get a pretty short intro to our main character Shay, along with his assassin friend Liam, and a more experienced assassin who we'll be calling Frenchie McSurrenderpants, as it's no more disrespectful than me trying to pronounce his name. We capture the ship that will become the Morgan. I'm calling it the Morgan, guys. Whatever. Anyways, after that, we get a nice little title drop before we're pulled out of the Animus to be given possibly the worst attempt at exposition of all time. Seriously, watch this.
Sorry for the rough exit. Your piece working? Check. You were just in an Animus. Animus, yes? You were using it to access a genetic memory file in Helix labeled Shay Cormac? You work for Abstergo Entertainment, remember? Any of this ringing a bell?
If you looked up in a textbook from writing classes that said how not to do exposition, it would somehow just be a physical link to this section of this game. That was just wow. We're also going to spend all of our Out of the Animus time literally doing her job, so that's cool. I'll probably just gloss over it. Back into the Animus, and we find ourselves at the Davenport homestead, aka Achilles' house, when Addie shows up. We'll optionally eavesdrop on their conversation, then proceed to training. There's a couple of missions in between here and where we're going, but they're pretty much break down to kill a couple of Templars while working to recover a precursor box and a manuscript that will lead you to another one of the precursor sites in the city of Lisbon. Shay is sent to Lisbon to recover the Piece of Eden from inside a convent, but when he gets there and tries to take it, it sets off an earthquake that would go down to destroy the city. I have two problems with this. The first is that Shay will go on to blame Achilles for this tragedy, but I can't really figure out why. He seems to take the info we get from eavesdropping on his conversation with Addie about what happened in Haiti, but what he shares is that there was a horrible earthquake and they don't know if their assassin brothers even reached the precursor site before it happened, and they can't find them. I don't understand how he can think that Achilles is just doing this out of some wanton disregard for human life. It seems like he just didn't know. I'm sorry if there's something I missed, but for the life of me, I've listened to these conversations more than once, and I just can't figure out what Shay bases this accusation off of. Even late in the game, it seems as though Achilles is still ignorant as to what these sites exactly do, but is wary of Shay's warning. And to Hope's credit, she makes a valid point that a person couldn't just set off an earthquake that would destroy a whole city, at least no way that they know. This is the entire basis for Shay's betrayal, and I just can't seem to wrap my head around it. After this, it's portrayed as though the assassins are just outright evil, but just like the Templars in other games, they don't seem downright evil to me, just written as antagonists for the story. This earthquake and Shay's assumption that Achilles knew it would happen is kind of the whole story when you get down to it, and I just don't find it that believable. And yet I enjoyed the majority of the story, even if I didn't really care. Funny how engaging gameplay in a game that runs well can really improve things. Oh yeah, I mentioned there was two things that bothered me about the earthquake. The other is that for some reason I couldn't get Speed 2 cruise control out of my head the whole time it was happening. It really killed the tension, but God, it was funny. Anyways, Shay gets shot and wakes up in the care of some nice people, and when they're bothered by a local gang, he'll do the logical thing and take over their headquarters before meeting Captain Monroe, a Templar even if he doesn't tell you for a while, who will introduce you to making renovations throughout the city. He'll then ask you to go save a man by the name of Gist, who, after helping you retake the Morgan as a thank you for rescuing him, will become your first mate, and he's a fun guy. Drunk most of the time, but fun. I mean, his first idea is to rob from the French, and I can get down with that. You'll also take down a fort during this time that contains a spy who worked for the assassins that you met earlier, and you're forced to kill him in a fight that has some truly terrible camera work. I get a little shaky on the details of this next mission. You're told by Monroe that the local gang is working with Ben Franklin and an unknown woman, presumably Hope, considering she's the only woman in the game, to mix large quantities of toxic gas to use against the populace. I'm a little confused for a couple reasons. First, I don't remember ever learning what they intended to do with said gas. Also, when you blow the tanks, it appears to just be sleeping gas like you use yourself. The implication from Monroe is that the assassins are planning to kill everyone in the city, or at least that's what I got from how he framed it. I'm not sure if he's misinformed, if I'm reading between lines that aren't there, or he's just lying, and that bothers me a bit. Speaking of Monroe, however, you'll receive a letter and head to save him and his troops from a part assassin, part French ambush led by one of your former brothers. You'll then take on a fort and use all of your training, skill, and talent learned from a lifetime training as an assassin to defeat him. Yeah. Although, unfortunately, despite your efforts, you cannot save Monroe from Liam. With the death of Monroe, and on the strength of his recommendation, along with your actions serving the Order, you'll be inducted as a Templar under Hatham. We fill him in on the precursor sites, now the assassins may continue to tear down cities through their ignorance, and he takes the threat seriously. They'll travel together, and when given the reins of a man of war, sink a French fleet, but miss a chance at Adewale, in the process who becomes your next target. We'll catch up to Addy, and while his death somehow lacked any real depth for me, we do get a great line out of Shay here.
Forgive me, Adewale.
You dare beg forgiveness, child? Hell welcomes traitors like you.
Then I go there proudly, knowing I have done right.
Shay manages to overhear a meeting of the remaining assassins, and it's revealed that Hope has figured out how to power the precursor box, and they aim to reveal the next site and set sail. So after getting the British Army's help dealing with Hope's gangs, we'll go after her next. She poisons us with the most confusing poison of all time, moving dulls the effects, and stopping will have it sap away at your life. I'm pretty sure an elevated heart rate makes blood move throughout the body faster, making poison work faster, but what do I know, I'm not a doctor. Maybe it's reverse poison. It's also dumb that she gives me a poison that I can hold off by running and then leads me on a foot chase. I feel like it would have been in her favor to stand and fight, but whatever, I know there's a reason she's trying to distract me rather than kill me. But trying to kill someone's a really good way to distract them, just saying. We decode the assassin communications and head out after them, only to find Frenchie McWhat's-his-face, who we have a very fun naval battle with before boarding his ship and killing him. Okay, I've been trying to avoid it, but it's been driving me nuts, so we need to talk about it. Why does every damn named assassin have the exact same death scene? It's literally, you're a traitor, and haha, I was just giving Liam time to run away. Seriously, Kesagawase, you're a traitor, but I was buying time for Liam to kill Monroe. Addie's like, you're a traitor, but it's cool because Achilles has already gotten to the thing. Then Hope, I'm sad you betrayed us, but it's cool, I was just giving Liam time to escape. Then Frenchie McSurrenderpants, I was just giving Liam and Achilles time to get out the head of you, aha! Seriously, how much time does Liam need to escape? Holy shit. They also ultimately all fail because Haytham and Shay do in fact catch up to Liam and Achilles anyway. Maybe if you just try to kill Shay instead of just dying after distracting him, you might have won. This is what bugs me. Shay doesn't outsmart the assassins. He isn't so much more skilled or use what he knows against them. They just get the bad guy nerf that makes them stupid for no reason. Anyways, we catch up to them at the final precursor site just in time to see Achilles attempt to have his character salvaged, as he acknowledges Shay might have been right and that they need to be careful. It's like canonically he's a good guy after this again, so we have to redeem him or something, I don't know. So anyways, after a very brief conversation, everyone agrees we shouldn't touch the earthquake murder death button, and it's all cool, so... oh, no, hold on. We need to have a final set piece, so Liam gets mad and accidentally knocks it over, giving him time to escape. We chase him down and have an epic final battle. Then we go and make sure no one created a time paradox by saving Achilles from Haytham before being pulled out for one last server repair. Seriously, it's your job. Do your job. Our boss, who no one could have guessed was a bad guy, has us upload Shay's story to the Assassin Network that we somehow, as Abstergo, have access to. Then we get one last memory with Shay before the credits roll. It will later turn out to be the beginning of AC Unity, which we'll get to next. Then when the credits roll, it's revealed to us that all our bosses are Templars. Duh. And we, the silent protagonist, are offered the chance to join or die. I really would have liked to hear that. I really like how we try to have this whole, the Templars are the good guys story, but at the end we have to erase all notion of that as to not muddy the morality of the next game. It's not unexpected coming from Ubisoft, it's just disappointing. I know I've been a little down on it in the end, but I do like the story here. It just isn't very good. You know, I'd like to pretend that I came into Rogue with no expectations, but the reality is that I came in expecting it to be a speed bump on my way to covering the other major titles. At the end of the day, I had fun playing it, and I think that's what games are about, right? Don't let people pretend there's something to this game that there isn't. There's no super interesting story here where we see the world from a different perspective. The truth is, there was more of an argument for the Templars in conversations Altair had back in the first game, when the groups were two sides of the same coin, rather than the extremes they're now becoming. I think the biggest letdown here, however, is that all the characters feel very bland. Shay Cormac grows on me, but that's really about it. Everyone else acts as more of a personality than a person. It's probably tough to try and make characters seem interesting coming off Black Flag, which had the best cast in the series, but that doesn't mean they're excused from being boring. Overall, the story was something that I found enjoyable, but not something that I'll think about tomorrow. The gameplay, however, is in fact something to write home about. I'll likely replay this game just for the Stalkers because I enjoy them that much, and the additions made to keep naval combat feeling fresh were fantastic. The reality is that that's kind of it. It was an alright story, and it had some really good gameplay, but that's all I have to say about this game, and I'm not gonna stretch it out to try to make it longer. We're done here. Next time out, we've got Unity, which I haven't played since launch, so that ought to be exciting. Just for fun, if you're still here, leave a question in the comments and I'll answer it at the end of the next video. That's going to be it for me though, guys. I appreciate you staying to the end, and please consider hitting that sub button so you don't miss the next one. With that being said, this is Purple signing off. Have a wonderful night, and always remember to smile. Thanks, guys.
Uphold the principles of our order, and all that for which we stand. Never share our secrets, nor divulge the true nature of our work. Do so until death, whatever the cost. This is my new creed. I am Shay Patrick Cormac, Templar of the Colonial, of the American right. I am an older man now, and perhaps wiser. A war and a revolution have ended, and another is about to begin. May the Father of Understanding guide us all.